Good morning, this is Kara. I don't any longer say of the ministry of Uncover no more. It's kind of there, but but it's not. So that's a good place for Uncover no more to be, because in my line of sight as a person who's been through quite a bit, as so many of us have, my line of sight, that means, does it take a back seat? No. What it means is I'm standing. I'm standing in the faithfulness of my true ancestors. Now, I wanted to talk about just some frivolous stuff for just a minute, because I'm dwelling in a different way this morning, and it's beautiful, and I'm not going to accept any other narrative. So basically, in my situation, what that means is I have universal oneness here that is not just of my own. And that does not take stubbornness, it takes nurture. It takes a nurturing spirit, and that's I have that nurturing spirit. And you will know me all across the world. We are men and women who have been nurturing for a very, very long time. And it's time to stop arguing with our nurturing spirits. It's just time. Because there isn't any because. It is simply time. That does not mean that we're not going to have to take care of together, all of us together. It doesn't mean that we're not going to have to take care of some serious shit. We have a lot of work to do. And you know, work is a privilege. And I believe that millennials, particularly, have forgotten that. And it has caused them to become very disrespectful towards baby boomers and Gen X, particularly when it concerns politics. Work is a privilege, and not in the way that you were taught if you were like me as a Christian. If there's one thing that I can do, and it's going to sound a little negative after 48 years in this life of Christianity, if there's one thing I can do, it's I can tell you what you shouldn't be doing with all the doctrine that was stuffed up your ass. And what you shouldn't be doing is complaining. You will stay in the wilderness of what was stuffed up your ass if you complain. That is meaningless, and it is a waste of time. Okay? It's a waste of time. Now, whether or not you agree with me is up to you. You're in my airspace. That's a little different. Okay. So, here's the two meaningless things. I actually had a little conversation with the teen in my presence that I am privileged to have with me in my presence this morning, and I was telling her that I had heard, well, today's daylight saving, and so, you know, I was discussing, I do this every year because this is the easy one. I curse it every year in the spring because that's the hard one. I mean, I'm good-natured about it, but still. And I know that there is a movement out there, because I was telling her, during the World Wars is when that began, that whole process of doing daylight savings. And there's a whole more holistic, I would call it even pagan, movement out there, eradicate daylight savings times. And I agree with that, but not really, because it is too much trouble. Literally, can you think about all businesses and all manners of walks of life changing that? I can, and it's exhausting to think about it. We are done with the days of old, the evolutionary process where we all lived in a way that it didn't require us to have the discipline of what daylight savings time actually represents. Fondness for the memory of something like that is a good historical perspective to be thankful for where we are today and try not to do anything else. Trying is a journey of success in this zone. It cannot be forced. Learning to see the beauty in your life and in my life, where it takes us to a place that we are voices in our places of freedom for all. But the immature idea of what freedom is caught up in something like having an actual group of people join together to make an issue of dropping daylight saving time. That's just that's irrelevant to the actual issues of the United States of America. Let me just bring this down to the United States, okay? That is the actual, that's the thing, is that there's a lot of issues out there nowadays where it isn't an issue. What it is a time waster of your virtue and aura. And I am speaking as a pagan, but I'm also speaking as an agnostic because America doesn't believe in people like me. And I don't give a shit. Because I can talk to you on a spiritual level that is actually extremely political. I appreciated the point of somebody on TikTok. I personally wrote a blog article about people like her because she is trans, I think, or something. She might be homosexual, simply homosexual. And it doesn't matter to me. Okay, I'm going to movies where men are kissing each other. Kara, do I have a problem with that? You be in a Christian zone for 48 years of your life and still be around post-Christians and see if maybe you would rather not deal with that, at least face to face. But I honestly, Curtis and I don't touch in front of people anymore, either because of this issue. Because this is just the way it is. I don't really think that anybody should be showing couples love publicly. We should be showing love generally. I can walk up to anyone and hug them and love them genuinely and do it all the time, or shake hands or bump elbows in this COVID world, whatever. Give a smile. That's appropriate love in this community of the world, where we have these large cities, and where I'm telling you, so do I have a problem with, let me finish that out, because I watched Eternal last night with two of my family members, and one of the men that is an Eternal, like I am, had to go away from his family, do something, and then come back. And his family is 2 men and a child. And it is just the most beautiful message. And no, I don't have a problem with that. But don't expect me to not admit what a journey it is to stop the knee-jerk reaction that the Christian church drummed into me for 48 years. Yeah, I'm an eternal. I've also called a tremendous amount of population worldwide, time-wide, into repentance because of STDs, AIDS, and what that represents. I literally am happy for you, whichever sexuality you land on. I'm happy for you. It is none of my business. Pansexuality needs to go to hell. Pansexuality is, the whole idea of it needs to go to hell. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. I'm a mother. And sexuality needs to be disciplined, no matter what type. And lots of homosexuals are saying that. Lots of trans are saying that. You be responsible with your sexual partner, in parentheses S, partners. You just be responsible. You can get into some serious, serious health issues if you're not. And if I say anything else, I'm an irresponsible agnostic and pagan. I'm actually beginning to drop the word pagan. It took me years to drop the word Christian off of my labeling. You have to label yourself in this day and age, or nobody will know what to do with you, and the persecution, quite frankly, gets worse if you don't label yourself. I've had that problem even in the Christian world. I won't explain it. But it's interesting to me. I was just going to talk about two weird kind of doesn't really make a difference things, and then I go into sexuality. But that's not weird to me. That makes sense because people wonder about people like me. Very caught in a heterosexual world. Okay? Am I caught in that world? Not anymore. But I have altered some of my ways because the millennials and the Gen Z in this country are having to deal with a lot of things. I've had to ask people that were obviously cross-dressing and stuff, how do I respectfully show you that I acknowledge your humanity and I think it's beautiful? In other words, which pronouns do I use? Things like that. And thankfully, those that I'm dealing with in the greater Austin, Texas area, there is a wholeness to the sexual community that I appreciate. A lot of people understand what I just said about pansexuality. A lot of people. I'm thinking of some parades that I have heard about, gay parades and stuff, where these gay people, male or female couples, and heterosexual couples are doing this, like in their neighborhoods, just to make a point about how their sexuality is beautiful. One of them is pretending to be a dog on a leash, and the other one, and they're dressed up in whatever. That needs to stay private. That doesn't belong around children. The homosexual, the heterosexual, the bisexual, the transsexual people, you have no right, and you do have responsibilities. Yes, your life is beautiful as you are making it. No, you do not have the right to force it in public. And if you think you do, I stay away from those kinds of groups. So if you want to be inclusive the way you say you do, think about it. Think about it. You have a lot more people around you accepting your lifestyle and sorry that you were persecuted for who you are. than you think you do in a lot of places in the United States. The thing is that there are some major attitude problems going on in this country that have nothing to do with sexuality and have everything to do with how, despite the fact that Christianity is bullshit, the Muslim world is pure bullshit, just like the Christian world is pure bullshit and the Catholic world is pure bullshit. So we have a bunch of these gorgeous buildings around there with people going in them, stuffing the buildings every whip stitch, and singing songs and stuff like that. And then you have all the gorgeous people outside of the buildings too. We sing our songs, we do our thing, we work our asses off just like everybody. Work is a privilege. Let's get back to the basics. Work is a privilege. Sexuality is private and needs to be nurtured and respected. Shouldn't be in the public realm. We need to learn to love one another quietly, in our homes, in our parks. I'm sitting in a park right now where there's beautiful trees. I just need to look at some trees this morning before I read some books and then do some chores actually today. Work is a privilege. And I'm living in a society myself where the sexuality issue is calm. It's calm. We respect one another. We came out of a very Christian upbringing. I was in it the longest in our 12-member family, and we respect one another in that zone. We are tired of our society and what they're doing, though, everywhere we are, and it has separated us as a family and as has politics. And that shouldn't be. But I'm going to wait it out, and I'm going to remember. That was one thing I appreciated about the Eternal movie, is about remembering. You have to remember. If you're me, 48 years in the Christian world, and it feels like just a huge loss because they're so fucked up in their doctrine. But I need to remember the beauty and the strength of the fellowship and the disciplines that I learned in that community. So it is a practice for me not to feel negative emotions when I see a male homosexual couple kissing in their beautiful life that they have. That I practice because they are just as faithful as I am. Okay? I will admit to you that as a post-Christian, I had issues with, can two men be parents of an adopted child? And it be the same thing as a heterosexual child parent situation like my 10 children are dealing with. And there are no answers there. There is a nurturing responsibility I have for all of us, period. Okay, so daylight savings time. Forget it. Naturalists, enjoy your parks and everything. Enjoy your society and appreciate your work like I'm doing. And that's a practice. Do I wish that we could go back to some time and place that we don't have to have daylight saving times? You know what? Just to stop and think about it this year, because I just think about it every time it changes. Laugh about it in the spring because I hate it. But all in all, no, I don't. I know we shouldn't go back to that, because I am not gonna shit on all the beautiful work to bring us to this beautiful community style in the United States of America. I am happy as happy can be that the infrastructure bill passed. And I was talking about it last night. And the guys in my life that went to the movie, just listen, because they're coming out of a society where the only person worth anything has a college degree. I have been living with demoralization my entire fucking life because of that bullshit. Besides the fact, in the American Christianity, I have lived the perfect Christian female life, and I say fuck that. And I have scars in my life because I got picked apart by people who were suffering with leaving that society as well. And my scars are beautiful. It has made me stronger, but I still have relationship pain in my life because of it. So the non-issue of daylight savings time is something to laugh about. It's not something to rally around and talk about. Let me give you, in conclusion, because I've talked about sexuality here more than anything else, and that's probably going to be the title of this YouTube that will go on my Lilith Perspective new website. I could blog. I could have said, good morning, this is Kara Coffey of a Lilith Perspective.wordpress.com. I have 5 working blogs, but there's like 7 or 8 of them out there. The king led me to put them in a certain state of being. My WordPress accounts, and what it is they're still visible, but they're not no search engines or anything. So I appreciated his leadership in my life. That was last week that he showed me that, and it's a mystery. When I talk to you, I'm speaking in tongues of angels when I talk about that. That means it really happened, but it's none of your business. But I'm not going to stop testifying about his beautiful leadership in my life. If you thought I was going to do that, American Christianity, you lost. I won. He leads me beautifully. Even my family is beginning to learn to respect that. And I'm nurturing them back to health, post-apocalyptic. And the king's leading me there too. So you do with this YouTube what you'd like. I'm being real. I'm admitting that it is taking practice not to feel a lurch in my stomach when I see a homosexual couple kissing. If you judge me for that, then you just stomped on a whole fucking bunch of beauty, because I pulled myself up out of heterosexual hell to be able to kindly tell you that, so you can take your bad attitudes. And I see bad attitude in homosexuals, trans, bis. I see bad fucking attitudes in all kinds of people, including heterosexual, straight, perfect idiots, literally. I see all kinds of bad attitudes, and that's not going to work anymore, is it? Really? That's not going to nurture each other. Well, Kara, since you declared that you're in a post-apocalyptic world, am I? No, you're not. Do not assume anything. But you can take away from my post-apocalyptic journey. I don't know what you're supposed to take away. I am a person who sat my ass in a bunch of pews for years and years, who now can tell you how freeing it is that I'm not doing that anymore. That I dwell with you in your Muslim places, in your agnostic places, and in coffee shops, and at home when I'm cleaning or potty picking. I dwell with you. I come alongside you and say, number one, get your act together and stop ripping yourself and everybody else up. Number 2, work is a privilege. And number 3, let's learn to understand what non-issues are. What you think about sexuality and what I think about sexuality is not a non-issue. I was having a conversation 2 or 3 years ago. We laughed about the penny, the monetary penny, and how if we were to decommission it, it would save millions of dollars. in our country. And we were laughing. And maybe we should do that. As we were talking about daylight savings time, my teen and I segued over to that. And she's like, but wait a minute, Mom. The change, it's like, yeah. I said, and I personally think it's probably too much trouble for all of the artificial intelligence to have to be changed to only 5 and 10 cents digits in the change of all the retail and everything. Everything. Even like credit cards where you don't actually exchange money, see? And so it's a non-issue that I guess we're just not going to get to save money that way in the United States. But let me tell you another one that really bugs the shit out of me, and we're just stubborn fuckers in America. It's like, why aren't we on the metric system? Just the metric system like Europe. Oh my goodness. And we'll probably still not change it, And I'm just like, this makes no sense. This makes no sense. Now, I just turned, and on the picnic bench here, somebody has collected, I hope it was a child, has collected a bunch of acorns on the picnic, the nice, sturdy Lions International Club picnic bench, and people carefully threw their pizza boxes away, and people are having a good time at this park. That is life. That's beautiful. I took some of the acorns, and they're sitting in a beautiful thing of my mother's, a pretty rose dish of my mother's in my house. So, community. There's only one other person parked here. This is a nice place to walk. I love the trees. Now I'm gonna go and have my day. I have left a balm. This is a healing balm, YouTube. This is my sermon in the car this morning. I'm just a mother here who's saying we have some learning to do, but it's not busy work learning, it's learning, which is perspective learning. And you're not going to get this kind of learning looking at screens, my loves. You are going to get this kind of learning staring at trees. Maybe planting yourself a little herb or a little plant to put in your window. Things like that. Having a pet that you take care of. Things like that. Being careful how much news you look at. You need to limit it every day. Make sure that you have people nurturing you, whether it be on the internet or at home. And sexuality, it needs to take a back seat, my loves. It is rife with issues, that whole subject. So I've tacked around it as a person who is very righteous sexually. And I've been honest with you. Now you're going to rip me up for my honesty, or are you going to appreciate sound doctrine? Because that's what I am in the United States of America, is sound doctrine. And I've been that way my whole life. Am I arrogant about that? Hell no. I am tired of narratives that are hurting people nationwide. That is what I am. And that is what I should be in 2021. You have a nice day.